Dark Souls 2 is the second game in the Dark Souls series. It's also widely considered to be the worst game in the Dark Souls series. You play as a guy. Said guy falls into a whirlpool and ends up in some gazebo thing. After waking up, we encountered the first boss of this game, default sensitivity. This is a not so fun gimmick boss where you have to use the clunky menu to navigate to the in-game options screen and reduce the camera sensitivity to a manageable amount. Guess that's what I get for not using a controller in a game that specifically tells you to use a controller. I briefly try and beat up these rat-looking things with my bare hands before realising this is a Souls game and animals in Souls games are never not annoying. I then cross the bridge and break into the home of some old ladies who ask for my name. Since I have forgotten, I ask ChatGPT for some ideas, which brings forth absolute gems such as Lord Chucklesworth, Count Wobblesnort, and my favourite, Silly Bones the Snickerer. We of course need a character to go along with our name, so I concoct the most vile, unworldly looking creature that ever stepped foot on the earth. I also picked the warrior class because bigger sword do bigger damage.
Hold on to your souls.
Are those souls dark by any chance? That would be funny because dark, so you're required to laugh at that. The woman in the hut seems to reckon I'll die a few times, which couldn't be further from the truth if I'm being honest. I've beat 3 Souls games, I'll have you know. There's absolutely nothing that can stand in my... the old stick a really tough enemy in the tutorial trick. Seen that one before. That was intentional. After relearning all the Dark Souls basics, I was ready to set off into the great world of Dragon Lick something or other. Oh look, cool hub area. First though, I explore a side path. Unfortunately the way forward is blocked, but I could instead kill some pregnant goblin looking things being kept in jail cells. I managed to defeat one, but the second gets a few hits on me as my sword flies off the walls like a hyperactive electric hanger. What am I saying? I tried to pop a life gem, but unfortunately it was too late. I soon returned to exact my revenge before looting its cell and heading back to the main path. We next meet Green Cloak Lady, who offers to give us level ups. I thought with all the goblin murder I'd have more than enough souls to pump a few points into vigour, but apparently this game is super stingy with how many dark souls you actually gain. We also meet Mochlin, who's a merchant. I've robbed his house. Can I go down the well? No. Time to go to the next area. I go down to the tunnel and eventually emerge into Hyde's Tower of Flame. Who's Hyde and why do they have a Tower of Flame? Who knows? Enemy, bonfire, enemy, bonfire. I can make that surely. Now I can fight him. The quote-unquote fight with this enemy consisted of me attacking a few times before dodging his single 3-hit combo which he repeats indefinitely. Our battle is cut short, however, as his lack of unique attacks sends him straight into the cold waters below, killing him instantly. Next I faced a mace-wielding version who has a similar 3-hit combo, but unlike the first night, this one has 2 moves rather than 1. This simple fact got me folded like a pancake before I could even land a second hit. I bashed my head on this brick wall multiple times before employing a brilliant strategy of running past them. Unfortunately, in the next area there were 3 more, followed by a 4th, followed by a fog gate. Surely they don't put a boss fight this early up. I don't think I'm in the right zone, you know. And so I teleport back to Majula and immediately find another passage leading to the Forest of Falling Giants. This is not a fitting name as there are no giants to be found, let alone falling ones. I soon bump into a guy. This particular guy has very long fingers. He also sells a lot of very below average equipment. Alright, boss time. The last giant. There's no shot that hit me. Dark Souls 2 dodges are awful. You get like no invincibility frames. And I'm dead. On my 3rd attempt, I pop a human effigy before entering the boss room to restore my health to the max. I get caught by a lot of attacks that really shouldn't have hit me, resulting in another death. However, on my 2nd try, the last giant falls in the forest and I claim my first Dark Soul in just 4 attempts. ADP, doesn't that give you more iframes on your dodge? Pretty sure I've heard people talk about that. That's a really bad mechanic. Let's just save that voice clip for later. That's a really bad mechanic. I next returned to Hyde's fire tower thing to exact revenge on the big knights that gave me so much trouble before. Face to face with the Dragon Rider once again, I realise what an absolute pushover he is, especially now that I have a few levels into adaptability and a half decent sword. It takes me a few attempts, but eventually I slay the Dragon Rider himself and move on to the next area. Can I go down the well yet? No. Check out this ring I found. It reduces the health you lose by dying. Oh yeah, dying reduces your max health. Did I mention that? That's a really bad mechanic. Next up was a short section through which I assume was the Tower of Flame. Despite its name, I saw no evidence of a single fire. I did, however, see a statue, which I assume we can get past later by obtaining a fragrant branch of yore. I know this because when we interact with the statue, it prompts us to use a fragrant branch of yore. The next area was a fun one. Filled with pirates, the Dead Man's Wharf took me upwards of 2 hours to fully clear. Why, you ask? Well, these Viking guys have a lot of health and do a lot of damage. Likewise, these abyssal horror death monkey things also have a lot of health and also do a lot of damage. I also meet Lucatiel, who keeps telling me how this is an odd place and I am an odd person. I murder her. Now, I spent longer than I'm willing to admit in this area, but eventually I managed to pull a lever of some kind only to be slaughtered by like 5 Vikings at once. It was a whole thing. In the next attempt, I took things slower. I pulled the lever again and dropped down into the next section, only to be mugged by a weird ninja-looking thing and another Viking. I died a few more times getting back to this location, but when I did, I managed to lure the swarm of enemies away from the shortcut and eventually knock it down, giving myself a much safer route to this second area. I briefly talked to Carhillion, but he calls me unintelligent. I murder him. Anchored on the pier next to Carhillion is a boat, so I figured I'd check it out and walk in on a boss fight with the Flexile Sentry. This boss is a guy, but he has 2 heads. That is pretty much it. The water below you slowly rises as you continue the fight. I have no idea what happens if you let it get too high, but it's probably not good. As such, I needed to end this fight quickly, which resulted in me getting folded numerous times. After a little while, however, I deal the final blow to the Flexile Sentry and never have to fight one ever again. Ah, that's fun. The next area we visit is the Lost Bastille. What's a Bastille? No idea. Why is it lost? Also, no idea. Ah, got him. Wait, he can jump. Oh, there's another one. Lovely. Did he just blow himself up too? I don't know, these turtle things. Oh, this isn't good. No shot, he just hit the barrels again. Surely he learned his lesson from the previous 2 times. Yeah, you died too. Now, needless to say, I was enjoying my time in the Bastille that is presumably lost, but it was quickly brought to an end by a statue blocking the door. To get through, I needed a fragrant branch of yore. I know this because when I interact with the statue, it prompts me to use a fragrant branch of yore. I have a quick conversation with Luca, what was her name again? She's somehow back after our previous encounter, don't really know how that works. She gives me a human effigy, which is a bit of a weird gift to give to someone, but appreciated nonetheless. Woman ahead. It was clear I lacked the means to progress in this area, so I instead took a break to explore the Forest of Falling Giants some more. Good thing I did, because I realised I picked up an iron key somewhere which let me access a whole new area. At the end of this area, we encounter the Pursuer, who presumably pursues stuff. He gets flown in by like an eagle or something, which is weird because he literally floats on the ground the entire boss fight. He also only has like 3 attacks, 1 more than the knights in the Hyde Tower. After the Pursuer falls, his eagle flies us right back to the Lost Bastion. Bastille, whatever it's called. Plot twist, the Pursuer pursues me yet again. He appears before me, but I manage to fend him off and obtain a fragrant branch of yore. This branch will let me access another part of the Bastion. I know this because when we interact with the statue, it prompts us to use a fragrant branch of yore. Okay, I'll stop. This branch let me access yet another part of the Bastion, which eventually led me to a boss fight against the Ruin Sentinels, Alicia, Rice and Yahim. I actually didn't realise they had names until writing the script. Anyways, this is essentially a gank fight where you've got to fight 3 enemies at once. They do wide sweeping attacks, throw their shields, and very occasionally do a bit of spinning. Okay, hear me out. What if I take out this guy first? Okay, nice. Yeah, you don't like that, do you? You can't reach me. What do I have that I can throw at them? What? They can jump? This isn't ideal. After a pretty substantial amount of time, I learned the Ruin Sentinel's attack patterns enough to be able to fight 2 at once. My strategy involved luring 1 Sentinel to jump onto Yahim's platform before jumping down myself to do some damage to the 2nd Sentinel. I'm gonna be honest, this boss fight almost made me quit this game, and I never quit games. Well, I mean, except one or two, but we've covered up that side of my channel's history, don't worry about it. After a long and very awkward boss fight, I deal a final blow to the final Ruin Sentinel, freeing myself of the pain and suffering of this mega gank fight. Okay, FromSoft, you've had your fun, leave me be. If only I knew. This isn't a trap, surely. Oh. Hidden path. Yeah, sure there is, bud. Yep, why do I check? So there's an item down there, right? I can't not grab it. Well, that's unfortunate. The next section was a rather interesting section of the Lost Bastille. There are these mummy-looking things trapped in pots, but they keel over in like 2 seconds, so it doesn't pose much of a threat. Surely if I drop down this way? Nope. This is going to be another well situation, isn't it? Speaking of which, can I go down the well yet? No. On my way back through the Bastille, however, I encounter yet another pursuer. His 3 attacks stood no chance against my 1 attack. Aha, if I run at this angle, I can land on the opposite side. No shot, I'm alive. Now the second one. Wilted Dusk Herb, what even is that? Restores many spell uses. Little did I know, the whole time there was an elevator that I completely missed. My journey next brought me to Sinner's Rise, where we meet a sinner who rises. It's a really dark boss fight, and some of his hitboxes are really wacky, but it was good, much more enjoyable than the Ruin Sentinels. After about 20 minutes or so, the lost sinner keels over, and I embrace a supposedly great soul. Okay, that even looks like a fake wall. Now, I wasn't too sure where to go after finishing the Lost Bastille, so I tried taking a newly acquired fragrant branch of yore into the temple thing with the pregnant goblins. That's not how physics work, I'm afraid. You were literally just trapped in stone. Your momentum isn't conserved.
My very own teacher. His name is Carillion of the Fold.
Ah. I give her some clothes before heading into the next room, only to be jumped by like 12 goblins and their pet death frog. After a little while, I finally make my way into the shaded woods. There are many goblins here, but with a little patience I fought my way through them and found myself in a misty part of the woods. That's a person there, surely. Yep, you're not sneaking up on me. What, there's 2 of them? Okay, you do not get iframes in this game, noted. I then proceeded to make the exact same mistake another 2 times. Produce the symbol of the king. Yeah, I don't have that yet, mate. It was pretty clear I wasn't going to get anywhere in the misty woods. Misty woods, shaded forest, I don't know, it's something like that. I instead took another look around the Forest of Falling Giants, which yielded no result. When making my way to Hyde's Tower, however, I bump into an NPC who reveals a new path, leading to an area known as Huntsman's Copse. FromSoft evidently ran out of synonyms for forest. That's a hidden wall, surely. No, this game must just not have hidden walls. Are you good there, bro? I swear these bandit guys just spawn out of nowhere.
Solstice 2024 is here. And just like much of the game,
where do you come from? Invaded by Dark Spirit Forlorn. Oh yeah, I forgot Dark Souls games do this. Come here. Dark Spirit Forlorn has been vanquished, has he now? Unfortunately, during my duel with the Dark Spirit Forlorn himself, I had used all my Estus, meaning a gang of bandits could easily pick me off, and pick me off they certainly did. Retracing my steps brought me to a funny skeleton cave. Inside this funny skeleton cave were skeletons that were funny. This posed a bit of a problem, and so I pick a different path and get invaded by another dark spirit, Merciless Rowena. I stun-locked her with my sword and picked up a key. I then used the key to gain access to a bonfire closer to the funny skeleton cave, and so with this newfound advantage, I ventured into the cave once again. Misfortune ahead, yeah I bet. Why do I keep doing that? The cave eventually led to a bridge, which eventually led to a cliffside, which eventually led to the bonfire. Basically, the funny skeleton cave was pointless. However, this cliff path eventually leads to a boss door, but more importantly, another funny skeleton cave. These skeletons were particularly funny because one of them had 2 swords. They also kept coming back to life, but you know what didn't come back to life? Me, when they pushed me out the window. I eventually figure out that the funny skeleton cave was in fact a shortcut for the boss, and by that I mean your life will be shortly cut by the skeletons as soon as you enter the cave. That wasn't funny. The area boss, believe it or not, was yet more supposedly funny skeletons. Skeleton lords, to be precise. Now you see, when you kill any of the 3 lords, they summon a massive wave of skeletons. I killed 2 of them back to back before realising this, prompting a swarm of skeletons to rise from the ground. Luckily I was able to mow them down with my claymore pretty easily, since they have like no health and deal no damage. I take out the final lord and claim victory over the skeleton lords. Give it up, skeleton. Skeleton, I did it. Something required ahead. Yeah, okay, that's enough messages. Harvest Valley. What are they harvesting? My sanity? No idea. What are you? Too short, imagine. That's unfortunate. Love a good poison swamp. They literally put a poison pool right outside the bonfire. That's just cruel. Little did I know, rolling through the poison was what got me covered. And I did this every single time. Did that guy just throw a black hole at me? Oh, you guys look fun too. This area is so confusing. What? Bro, there's no shot. Now there's 4 items down there. How many can I grab before I... okay. Is that death, do you reckon? Yes. We bump into this Lucatiel person again here. I decide to let her live this time since she gives me a ring of some description. I then throw myself into a lake. Okay. Okay, so 1, back up, 2, there we go. I've memorized all 2 of your attacks. Never mind. Covetous Demon is just a big slug thing. That was easier than the fire girl outside. Now the mountain looking area that followed after defeating the blob thing was pretty scary. So scary in fact that I completely lost the footage, so bear with me as I attempt to recreate what happened. I ascended through the tower, fighting the ninja things I'd seen in various areas of the game already. Once at the top, I was thrown into a boss fight with a Medusa looking thing. The floor was poison, which forced me to heal at regular intervals to avoid being hit. The problem was that, in Dark Souls 2, you stand completely still when using your Estus Flask, giving a massive window for the boss to hit you. I struggled against this poison for a little while, fully believing that this was the intended way to fight the boss. To be fair, if Dark Souls 2 has taught me anything so far, it's that this game is not fair. Eventually I did end up looking up the boss fight on YouTube to see how other people beat it, only to realise that there was no poison in the arena at all. What was the secret, I hear you ask? Well, you have to take a torch, an item the game has never told you about, and use it to burn this windmill by lighting this solid metal bar. Yeah, nice one, FromSoft. My pain didn't end there though. Once I had beat the Medusa lady at the top of the mountain, I headed up an elevator to the Iron Keep. Now, Iron Keep. Iron Keep is the most indescribably insufferable place in all of Souls. You might think, oh look, cool castle, oh look, cool lava, oh look, cool knights. Wrong, the knights are not cool. They run super fast, deal ridiculous amounts of damage, and there's hundreds of them. There's a boss in the first part of this area known as the Smelter Demon. On your way to the Smelter Demon, you have to go past 20 knights. And if you don't remember from earlier, you have no iframes in this game when opening chests, pulling levers, or, most importantly, traversing fog gates. And they put a knight right outside of the fog gate for Smelter Demon. Even if you somehow run past all the enemies, the second you try and enter the fog gate, this big knight slaps you right out of the animation and you get mobbed by a swarm of knights. Would you like to know how long I spent trying to beat Smelter Demon? 5 whole hours. You know what to know how many times I actually got into the boss arena? Less than 10. To give you some perspective, I think Melania from Elden Ring took me less time than this boss fight. It got to the point where the game literally stopped spawning knights. I'd killed so many of them. But no shot, there's more. Wait, no. So what do I think about Dark Souls 2? Well, excluding the last few areas, I thoroughly enjoyed playing this game and will probably end up playing more of it in the future. Is it truly unfair, unfun, and unplayable like the very real people I've quoted in the thumbnail seem to claim? No. Well, except unfair, but you're playing a Dark Souls game, what do you expect?